Kayley, did you know that Razzlecon's rap anthem for Misfits has over 350,000 views on YouTube?
I did not. It's hard to believe, but I do know that at least 10 of those were from our producer. So in this hack, a New York man admitted to being the original hacker of Bitcoin in the 2016 hack of Bitfinex. He pleaded guilty in federal court, and along with his wife, Heather Rhiannon Morgan. His name is Ilya Dutch Lichtenstein. And yeah, they've pleaded guilty to conspiracy to launder the stolen cryptocurrency, and his wife also helped him hide some of that loot.
So these are two pretty big pleas. And I guess until that admission that Lichtenstein made in court, it was never publicly known that it was these folks who had hacked the Bitcoin from the cryptocurrency, from Bitfinex, that crypto exchange. But yeah, the DOJ said they seized more than 94,000 Bitcoin out of the more than 119 hacked Bitcoins. So a pretty good return they were able to make on that. So another example of the DOJ actually going out and being able to really get this stuff back. That was, pretty good for law enforcement. But man, that at the time that seized crypto was worth $3.6 billion, the largest seizure in the history of the DOJ.
Yeah.
What did he do? What did he do with this money?
Well, from the DOJ's perspective, I suppose they'll give it back to Bitfinex if it works out, but I don't know. I'm not sure what Lichtenstein and Morgan were doing with it other than making incredible rap videos, incredible used in a side-eye way.
All right. So it's everyone listening, it's 100% worth it for you to look up at least one or two of these videos by Razzlecon, also known as the Crocodile of Wall Street. She faces, about maximum, I think, of 5 years in prison based on the plea. But while her prison sentence, when given, will eventually end, these videos, frankly, are punishment enough and will last forever on the internet. It's very rare, right? We're almost sort of comfortable these days, and like there's very little that we see on the internet that can shock us. But Kayley, when I first saw this video, I thought it was one of those things where I immediately wanted to send it to many others because you don't see a lot. There's very rare that I get stuff where I'm I have to stop what I'm doing and send this to people.
It's very interesting. That's for sure. I don't know. I don't know who allowed that to happen, but I guess thanks to them.
There's some great irony to this story. According to the press releases and news coverage of this, that the married couple, they took some of the crypto and they converted it to gold, which is in some ways the opposite, right, of what crypto is supposed to be. This really cool international, quick moving, and it does. I get the argument for it, but gold is the opposite, right? It's the idea of storing it underneath the burying it in your backyard, which is what I think they might have done. They buried it in various locations. Yeah. And I guess some of those locations are now known to law enforcement, so they might have further recoveries.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. I thought it was interesting just in general, the actions that they took to try to hide things. I read one article about it that said that they were accidentally tipped off that they were being part of a criminal probe because the company took too long to process the non-disclosure order. So they ended up tipping off Lichtenstein
man.
that they were being looked into. And they threw one of their computers down a garbage chute.
That's good. That's good. If you, there are many hackers listening who probably know that that's not the correct way to dispose of electronic evidence.
Facepalm.
I love the idea that they committed a 21st century crime and then stored the proceeds by burying gold, which is like what a pirate would have done in the 18th century.
I was going to say, it's like a pirate.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, apparently Netflix has commissioned a series on the couple. Now, look, I'm a lawyer, but I'm not that kind of lawyer. But I kind of want to know, like, who gets paid? Like, who gets paid when Netflix has a story? Do they have to pay anyone? Do they license it from the criminals? Do they license it from the victims? I don't know how that works out, but I would like, if any of our listeners know the answer to that, let us know through our socials for sure.
Yeah.
All right. Well, folks, I'm your host, Jack Clabby. I'm a cybersecurity attorney at Carlton Fields, PA. And with me, as always, is Kayley Melton. Kayley's the vice president of U.S. remote publishing teams at KnowBe4. After a short break, we're going to chat with Courtney H. Jackson. Courtney is the CEO of Paragon Cyber Solutions. She's a person who isn't afraid to hit you with those back-to-back draw fours in Uno, from what I hear. In other words, she's going to do what it takes to win. We'll be right back.
Welcome to No Password Required, a monthly conversation that introduces you to some of the top talent in the world of cybersecurity.
Welcome back. Our guest is Courtney H. Jackson. Courtney, welcome to No Password Required.
Thank you for having me.
So, Courtney, can you give us a breakdown of your career path and where you started and how it led you to to found Paragon Cyber Solutions?
Happy to. So, started right out of high school. I joined the Navy, and I was a radio man initially as my MOS, but they merged it with something called a data processor. So I became an information systems technician, so IT essentially. And that was my introduction to the world of IT. I did one term in the Navy. I got out and got a job at a help desk as my first, non-military job. And I worked my way up from there. I've held every possible position, network admin, sysadmin, security analyst, security program manager, and eventually I got on the executive track after many years of working in the field. And my last job before I founded Paragon was a chief security officer for a government contract company in Maryland, outside of DC.
All right. And what brought together the decision to sort of found your own thing?
So during that whole time, I didn't see a lot of people that looked like me. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't really have anyone to look up to. And I found it pretty hard to excel in the field. But once I got to the executive level, I worked for that company for a couple of years, and I was working right alongside the CEO, and I was doing a lot. I became the point of contact for the customers, for our team members. I was still on contract doing cyber work, and I was like, so if I'm doing all this for someone else, right, like why not, just jump out there and do it for myself? So it took me a little bit, to get the courage to take the leap. But once I did, I haven't looked back since.
Courtney, to make that leap, I mean, I think a lot of people in their minds listening might think I could do that or I could do my own thing. I'd love to be my own boss, but they don't make that leap. What was it that got you there? Like, did you read any books? Did you talk to anyone, or did you just kind of do it and figure it out?
Like a good pep talk or something?
I don't know, because there's so many people who probably have that idea, but then don't do it.
Honestly, I'm somewhat of a risk taker, and for me, it just got to the point where it would have been worse if I didn't at least try. I got to the point where I'm like, I have to at least give this a shot. And it wasn't really a decision. It was like, you must do this type thing. So once I got to that point where it wasn't just like a dream or desire, I'm like, hey, I have to do this. That's when I decided to take the leap of faith.
And could you just let us know a little bit about what Paragon does?
Absolutely. So we provide information, security, and technology services to help strengthen our customer security posture, primarily under security assessments, risk assessments, and security awareness training, and to help them reduce their risk of cyber attack.
How much are you doing? I mean, you're the person there, right? And it's really your organization. How much is management now on your desk, and how much is you working directly with the customers?
So my customer engagement is more sales BD. I'm not the practitioner, hands-on keyboard person anymore.
Okay.
I have really smart team members for that. So yeah, I'm mostly, strategy and sales and stuff now.
Did you start with a team, or did you start off completely on your own?
No, I was solopreneur. I started on my own. So I was the person then, primarily doing virtual CISO work. So, primarily we do a lot of governance, risk, and compliance work. So I leveraged my experience with that and worked with clients that way until I built up enough work to where I'm like, okay, I can't do all this alone. And I brought on one person, got more work, brought on another person. And until eventually we secured a contract with MacDill, a government contract. So then I brought on more people, and it's been organic growth, but it's been really sustainable. That's very important to me.
Once you began having that success, did you ever connect with a mentor or connect with anybody else to kind of help you figure out how to grow this company, or was that organic too?
A mixture. So it was organic, but I definitely, have a couple of mentors now. Even one that's right here in Tampa, and she had hundreds of millions of dollars in government contracting at SOCOM, which is our biggest customer. So she's a great mentor and resource for me.
So Courtney, it sounds like you had worked for a government contractor before your current role with Paragon. When you were in the service, had you had any touches with contracting or government contracting, or did you learn that all in the private sector?
No, I learned all of that in the private sector.
So that you have this company that's set up, and you've got people working for you. You've got real contracts, big contracts. Is there anything that you've done differently? Say if there's someone like you coming up who didn't have someone like you now, is there anything you do differently to mentor people or to otherwise try to change things?
So I think there are so many more resources now, even outside of mentorship, but organizations. So like SBA is everywhere. They actually helped me a lot as a small business. And then they also have where they're called Apex Accelerators now. It used to be called PTAC. But for anyone specifically interested in government contracting, they have an entire group and resources that are available at no cost under SBA. I would definitely recommend anyone interested utilize that.
I'd say the SBA, the Small Business Administration website, is fantastic. And I'll recommend it. I'll recommend it to folks who ask about cyber readiness and, security assessments, and even they even have formats of incident response plans that small businesses can accrete to. So it's just not, it's a well-run government website.
I agree.
It really is.
I agree.
Was there a moment when you went from being, pretty sure that you did the right thing by going out on your own to, damn right, starting my own cyber company was the best decision?
I would say when I made my first hire, when I was working as a consultant, it was different. It was just me. I didn't have to, worry about anyone else, just solopreneur consultant. And I made my first hire. And that person, because of the work that I had, I was able to give them a really good opportunity. They got a pay increase, and I was able to make an actual direct impact for that person. And that was a really good feeling. I'm like, okay, I want to feel more of this. So now every time I bring someone onto our team, I look at, is it ideally a step in the right direction for them to excel their career, whether that's salary, whether that's the role and responsibilities. But that first time for me, I was like, okay, yes, I love this feeling.
I love that that's your response, so many people might say, oh, well, the first time I got a big paycheck personally, but right. I love that for you, it was getting to make a difference in other people's lives and the team that you're creating.
Well, thank you, Kayley.
How do you approach recruiting for employees?
Whew. Recruiting is tough, Jack, especially now, post-pandemic. So 80% of our work is government contracting, meaning people have to have security clearances, right? But post-pandemic, there's so many people that want to work remotely. So they want to sit at home with the top secret clearance. It's like, no, you have to get these customer sites. So having to compete with those remote jobs, has been tough. However, one thing that's really helped us is we've partnered with Hiring Our Heroes and SkillBridge. So those two programs have transitioning service members, and it helps them because they don't, it's scary transitioning from the military to the civilian world. But then for us too, it's like a trial run for both of us to see if it's a good fit. And so far, we've had great success with that program where we brought people in, and not only did it help them with the transition, but we were able to recruit a really strong person to add to the team. So that's really helped us a lot.
That's great. I know Paragon Cyber Solutions also has like a formal apprenticeship program for cybersecurity. And that's is that the same thing as the SkillBridge program, or is that something different?
It's different because it's not for military. The apprenticeship is geared towards people that have an interest in getting into cyber, but they don't have any prior experience. And
I think it's even, your guys are even approved by the Federal Department of Education, right?
Yes, we are, and the Veteran Affairs for the VA too. Yes, it is an approved apprenticeship program.
How do you go about doing this, something like that?
It was a process. I worked with a nonprofit organization in DC, Urban Institute. And honestly, they helped walk me through the process. And the driver for it, I mean, fortunately, I've been in IT 20 plus years, right? Okay. But we know now cyber is all the buzz. So many people want to get in the field, and people get a degree and or certification. And they're like, okay, I'm ready for a cyber job, but they don't have any experience. So as an employer, it's like, okay, you don't have any experience. It's great. You check those boxes, but there's a gap there.
Yeah.
So that was a driver. I was just kind of literally Googling like apprenticeship programs and things like that. And that's how I got connected with Urban Institute. And they're the ones that told me about, hey, there's like, we can help you get a formal approved apprenticeship program through Department of Labor, Department of Education. And I said, really? It was just a lot of paperwork, honestly, that had to go into it, and formally drafting what the training plan looks like and all that. And a lot of approvals. I mean, that whole process took probably about 8-9 months from start to finish.
Okay. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
How has it been since it's been in place?
It's been great. I mean, full disclosure, since we're a small business, we're limited on the number of apprentices that we can put on. We have a very long wait list of people that want to join, but the people we have been able to bring on is made a world of difference for them.
Courtney, I love that the story starts with a Google search that you do to try to figure it out. But I have to imagine, given your extraordinary training, that your Google searches are a lot more complex than mine would be. You probably know all the secret codes to put in.
Google, you know what? Here's some people interviewing. Like, Google is a legitimate answer. Like, resource Google. Like, there's nothing wrong with saying that. And some people, they're like, oh, I hate to say that. Why? You're resourceful, right? Like, you're seeking information. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's true. It's like sometimes you need the 100% answer, and sometimes you need the 85% answer. Or there's 10 right answers. You just need 3 of them. You don't need all 10.
Exactly.
Right? This is like in the old days, just ask my mom the answer to something that was going to be on a test at the dinner table. And whether she knew it or not, I was going to use that the next day. And I'd be like, well, good enough for a B+. But that's extraordinary. I think there's a lot of that, being able to take advantage of actual opportunities and existing resources that are out there. And it sounds like you've done that to build your business, which is really, really extraordinary and a great thing to hear.
Thank you.
So we're not obviously the only people who feel that way about you and your success. You've been named a 2023 BusinessWoman of the Year honoree, a global 2022 Cybersecurity Woman Entrepreneur of the Year. Can you talk a bit about your experience in winning those awards, what that was like?
Yes. So you asked me earlier, like those kind of moments where you're like, I made the right decision. Yeah. Definitely that, right? Like, you're doing good and you feel like you're doing good. But when other people not only start to take notice, but actually recognize you, for the things you're doing, like those moments for me, each of those awards were just like, wow. I don't stop a lot to kind of, and people tell me, like my friends, they're like, oh, you're so humble. And I don't really look at, oh yeah, I've done this and that, but receiving those awards, I literally pause like, wow, like that is, so to talk about each of them, the BusinessWoman of the Year, the Tampa-based Business Journal, that's huge for me because I love Tampa, and the fact that was awarded in my area the things I do in the community, the fact that they're so supportive and the recognition, that was huge for me. Yeah. And, the year prior for the Cybersecurity Woman Entrepreneur of the Year, there were people in that category in other countries.
That's amazing.
It was very exciting because I didn't find out until the week of Black Hat when I went to Vegas for the award ceremony. So they had the top 3 finalists, right? They had the card, and put our pictures up, and you're like smiling, looking like, and the winner is, and it felt like it was like a 10-minute pause. It felt like, and then my picture comes up with my name, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, that was very exciting. Initially I'm like, man, I have to wait all that time to find out. But having that moment, of suspense and then the big reveal, it was just like, oh, this is so cool.
That is very cool.
Those two were great.
That was out at Black Hat? That's where that is. That's really cool. Okay.
It was the week of Black Hat, the award ceremony, just because there's so many cyber people there that week.
That's amazing.
Yeah, every year they do the award ceremony at a hotel ballroom there.
Okay. Wow. So you mentioned the Tampa community, and I know that you're involved in several different Tampa causes. What have you learned while you've been out there making a difference?
I have learned that there's a lot of support for small businesses here. Being that I'm originally from Michigan, and then I spent most of my government contracting time in Northern Virginia and Maryland area outside of DC.
Okay.
Been in Tampa 5 years, and being involved with the different organizations has just been so eye-opening. One, that there's so many here, right? And two, just the level of support. So I literally know our mayor. I mean, that is unreal. And that was through the Tampa-based Chamber of Commerce. We had a ribbon cutting scheduled for the office and through the chamber. And they're like, hey, would you mind if the mayor were to attend, would you mind changing the day and time? Like, no. Is that even a question? Like, whenever she can come, we'll do it then, And the fact that she was even interested in coming and showed up and we talked, and she's been a huge supporter ever since. And that was a couple years ago. Where else would that happen? So it's just, I'll tell anybody, I absolutely love Tampa.
But you're the story that everyone's trying to tell about Tampa, right? Bringing professionals down here, people who are opening businesses and hiring folks. I mean, you're the story that Tampa, the city, is telling. So it's absolutely mutual. The feeling. I mean, you picked the 5 years of fastest growth probably to be here in Tampa. What do you see for the future? Do you think that this can continue to grow the way it has in Tampa, particularly for cyber and for high tech sort of jobs?
I do. I believe it's going to continue to grow here, as well as a government contracting community as well. I think it's all going to continue to grow in this area. So we're now in the running for the Tampa Bay Chamber Small Business of the Year. We're a finalist.
Wow. That's amazing.
So we found that out a few weeks ago. We don't find out until, just like the other thing I told you about. Listen, we don't find out until November at the award ceremony if we win or not.
So I don't want to jinx it because I think you have to go in prepared to win. You got to have your speech ready to go, all sorts. But like when you were out at when you're at the ceremony for Cybersecurity Woman Entrepreneur of the Year, or you're getting ready for this one for the chamber, do you have a polite clap ready or a face ready to make in case you don't win?
It's funny you ask me that, Jack. Literally, so I try to vision things, right? You manifest things.
Yeah.
In my mind, I'm close my eyes, I can hear our company, name, right? But then I had this one vision where it was the other company in the run. I'm just like, oh. But yes, so I was like, that could happen. So yes, because I'm prepping myself for it to go either way. Obviously I want to win, but I realize, it may not happen. So
Does winning an award, like a national or international award like that, does it change your life? Did you feel like it changed your life in some way?
It did. I think a lot more eyes were on me after the global one last year, for sure. I got more followers, more people reaching out. Definitely.
Yeah. All right. What about, like, does it increase your coolness profile with your kids or family or anyone like that? Like,
my kids, right? Okay. Yeah. Well, my mom, she's like my biggest supporter. So she's just happy about everything. My kids have a 10-year-old, 16-year-old, 2 girls, and yeah, they're excited about it every time. And my 10-year-old, she tells me I'm cool when this stuff happens, but not outside of that. So I'm like, so I'm just not cool in general. Only when I win awards. I don't know. I thought I was pretty cool, Mom, but.
You're like doing secret stuff for the government, right? Like that every day is cool, right? But then it's like, yeah, it's funny. It's like all the things you do, and then you get a free T-shirt from an expo you go to, and you come home with the T-shirt, and the kids are like, "Whoa, free T-shirt! You must be really awesome." It's like, but I did this other cool thing today too. I don't want to hear that. I want the T-shirt, Tampa obviously has MacDill here, which is useful for so many folks who are in the industry, but also because it has MacDill here, folks are transitioning out of the service. There's an opportunity to hire sort of directly out of those roles. I mean, what sort of advice would you give to someone who's in the military and is thinking of leaving to go to the private sector to help make that transition easier for them?
I would say definitely leverage all their resources. The chamber helps transitioning members a lot, but then hiring our heroes and SkillBridge. I mean, those programs allow them to actually work with a company while they're still active duty.
Yeah. That's
the best. Like, they're still in, but they're getting a taste of the outside world. And I think it just better prepares them for the transition. Yeah,
that's a really good cooperation on both sides, both the private and the military side of things, to make that work. And if you're in the military and you're thinking about it, you've got to reach out to them, right? I don't think they reach out to you to make that happen. That's amazing.
Hiring our heroes is a little different. So they blast out resumes, but SkillBridge, yes, the people have to seek out the companies.
Okay. But if somebody who's in the service wants to reach out to hiring our heroes, they can do that, right? They don't have to wait to be tapped. Okay.
Yes.
What, in terms of, now that you've been in the private sector for so many years, are there any lessons that from your time in the military that you return to time and again that have helped you?
I would say one of the main things in the military I utilize now is adaptability.
Okay.
Things change so frequently in the military, and you're just told to do it. You have to do it. There's no questions. There's really no option. You think you're going in, it's going to be a certain day, and then things come up. So it's like that with running a business too. Like, I have my calendar, right? But things come up that you don't expect, and you just kind of have to shift, reprioritize. I definitely learned that in the military, and that helps me with my day to day now.
That's something like sometimes I try to think, okay, the night before, what is tomorrow going to look like?
Right.
And then at the end of that next day, I think, how'd I do? Did I predict what my day was going to look like or not? And almost always it's 50% more, right, of a variance between what I wanted to accomplish and then what ended up happening. I can never get through it all.
Exactly.
Do you think, had you not done the military, do you think you still would have found your way to cybersecurity?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, back then, I'm aging myself here, but like we had word process. I had a brother word processor, and it was everything back then.
Yeah, absolutely.
I didn't know what that MOS when they did the merge, and they kind of selected me for IT. Right, I didn't know what it was at the time, but once I was introduced to it, I 100% stayed in it and grew there. But I don't know if I would have been introduced to it, had I not gone to the Navy and been assigned the role.
That's kind of amazing. Like that we're talking about how much of a difference and how much impact you've had on the industry. And maybe we wouldn't be having this conversation with you if you weren't introduced that way. It's really cool how coincidences like that can end up defining the rest of our lives.
Thank you. That is.
Courtney, I have to ask. So on your personal website, there's a really cool photograph of you and Oprah Winfrey. Can you tell us that's like an amazing thing? Can you tell us the story behind that photo?
I'm happy to. So, this was years ago when I was in, Northern Virginia. Oprah, I think it was the Life You Want tour that she did. I think that was the name of it. And she came to DC. My mother loves Oprah. I mean, who doesn't? And just so happened that tour was during my mother's birthday. And when I looked at the tickets, there was an option to purchase a meet and greet with her.
Oh, nice.
So I got 2 tickets for the meet and greet for my mother and I. And I'm like, okay, what is this meet and greet? Are we really going to get to meet her, Because we watched her on stage first and for all these people. But yeah, so they gave us like backstage pass. They had a room and she came in and spoke to everybody, as a group. And then they said, okay, we're going to line you up and then you get to take a picture with her. Yeah. My mom went ahead of me. She could barely talk. Oh. And she's like, my mom, I was just like, my daughter brought me and that's my daughter and I love you. And
that's awesome.
Set the stage. So when I come, Oprah literally has her arms open and I'm just like, oh my gosh, like Oprah. And she hugs me. And I'm like, you're amazing. So I wasn't an entrepreneur then.
Okay.
I mean, I'd only imagine what I'd ask her now. But I was just a fangirl then. It was just like, you're amazing. Oh my gosh, we're here. Thank you. Wow. But yeah, I will literally never forget that.
That's like when you think about experiences and not things, that sort of thing that people talk about now about how we want to create our lives. Like that is one of those experiences that can't be replaced by a thing, right? It's just such a neat opportunity to do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's always, whenever my mom and I talk about the sad state of politics in this country, my mom always says, why doesn't someone like Oprah run? That's always her. That's her person that she offers as a well-meaning, very smart, neutral person who could probably do really good. But why would they, right? Why would they? They're doing a lot in their current role to be helpful. They don't need to put themselves through something horrible like running for national office. But in my house, growing up, that was always the person who we went back to. Why can't Oprah run? All right. Well, after a short break, we'll return with our lifestyle polygraph. Stay with us, everyone.
You're listening to the No Password Required podcast. We cover cybersecurity and a lot of other stuff.
Welcome back. As many of you know, the Lifestyle Polygraph is a test used by the federal government to determine if a person is worthy of learning some of our nation's most important secrets. Here, we use this technique for slightly lower stakes to determine whether our guest can join our fantasy cybersecurity squad. Courtney, are you ready for the Lifestyle Polygraph?
Let's go.
All right.
Ready.
So, first question. How did your risk-taker mentality land you in the Tampa Bay area?
Oh, okay. So my husband and I, we always moved for either the military or work. And we were like, okay, that aside, like, let's actually pick where we want to live. And we chose Florida. The weather, wanted to escape the cold. And I lived in Jacksonville before, and he had lived in Fort Lauderdale. So we kind of went through the cities, and we said, let's try Tampa. We visited for 5 days, loved it, literally put in an offer on a house before we left. Hadn't even put our other house on the market. I don't recommend that.
Wow.
But we lucked out, though. Our other house sold really fast, so it worked out, but we didn't know. We didn't plan it that way, but we found the right house. That's where we're still there. So
that's amazing. Some serious trust.
Yes.
So, second question. You enjoy the show Lucifer, and if you were cast in a reboot of it, what part would you create for yourself, and what would your storyline be?
Ooh. So I like Phoenix. So I'd be Phoenix, right? I think I'd be a mixture of the current characters. I don't want to ruin it for everybody, but like Maze is like this real tough. She's a demon. I don't want to be a demon though, but like, but the tough part, you know, like she is super tough. Nobody messes with her. I like Lucifer because I like his sense of humor, you know, it's ironically. And I think I would time travel too, though. So I throw that in my character, you know, just kind of jump in and out of, you know, decades and centuries when I felt like it. I don't know. So that would be my character.
I think like when people talk about like, oh, what superhero power would you want? You know, and they talk about strength or the ability to fly or invisibility, right? Like those are often the big three ones. Time traveling is an awesome one that people don't talk about enough. You know, because it would, like, you know, I would, how many times are you curious about something that happened in history? You could just go back and actually look at it and be like, oh, that's crazy that was what actually happened. I think time traveling is a very cool and underrated superhero power. I like that.
Jack.
I like that idea.
I agree. Either that or flying, maybe, or teleportation.
Oh, that's a good one, Kayley. Yeah, flying. I throw that in my character too. I'd be able to fly everywhere. I love that.
Yeah.
I don't like traffic, so that.
Right, exactly. Just get anywhere, just fly over them.
It would have to be foldable, either no wings or foldable wings, though, because I wouldn't want to like get the power to fly and then have, you know, like big wings that I have to fold behind me all the time, right?
Yeah,
that'd be the one challenge.
Yeah,
it'd have to be convenient. Yeah, I agree with that.
And no more. You would not, if you could fly though, you wouldn't have to go through TSA, which is nice too.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The wings wouldn't be good for airplanes, but you wouldn't need them. So
that's right.
All right. Third question. When you hire new talent, the number one trait you look for is adaptability. Can you give us a personal and professional example of your own adaptability coming in clutch?
Personal, the move. Yeah. I mean, because that was so unexpected. But then after we put in the offer and it was accepted, there were like all these things we had to do to move from up north to here. So yeah, I would definitely use that. Professionally, honestly, every day as an entrepreneur. I mean, I could give like tons of examples of just things that have been thrown at me that I didn't expect, didn't foresee, but had to kind of like stand on my feet and, you know, figure it out. Yeah,
I think that's probably a good trait for any entrepreneur, but especially in cybersecurity. Anything that has to do with tech, you can guarantee something's going to go awry that you didn't expect.
Absolutely. Count on it.
Question 4. You're part of a competitive household, including 2 young athletes. When you're able to pull them away from their chosen sports for some family time, what board game brings out your family's competitive spirit?
Definitely Uno.
Oh.
Uno. Yeah. And the rules change every time. Like my 16-year-old is terrible about that. You know, if it worked in her favor, it was a current rule. But if it worked against her, that wasn't a rule. Like, right. What? We just played that way. She just changes rules on the fly. But
adaptability.
I'm all about adaptability. There you go. Adaptability.
The biggest dispute in our house is always if someone puts down like a +2, can the next person, instead of drawing 2, can they put down a +2 on top of that because it's the same card? And then does that bring, if that's allowed, does it bring a +4 to the next person? And I've always taken the position that you can't do that. But then my kids have recently started outvoting me where we play where a +2, you can avoid it by throwing a +2 down. Then the next person can even throw down a +4. So it then stacks 8. Have you guys ever faced this problem? How do you resolve it in your household?
I agree with your kids, Jack.
Oh no!
+2 down, and I have one. I'm playing it, and then that's 4 to the next person, right?
Oh,
but
man.
I do not think you should be able to put a draw 4 down on the +2, though. I think it should be the same exact card. So
okay,
you know,
That's a fair compromise. I get it. So the rule, yeah. So the plus two rule, it's the matching card rule that you can put down the same card down rule as opposed to just any plus card. All right. I could see that. That actually makes a lot more sense than either of our theories.
I mean, we put down a draw 4 and then the next person put down a draw 4. Like it's happened 3 times once. That's like 12 cards. Like game over for whoever that is, right? Like you draw 12 cards.
Oh, that's brutal.
We're very competitive too, but it's fun, It's very fun.
Uno is such a great game. I don't know what it is about that game, but it's just so good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a classic. It really is.
All right. So last question. You also enjoy RV trips with your family. So through the miracle of podcasting, we're creating a scenario where you and your husband have no work, no personal duties for 30 days. And your kids are doing so amazing in school that they were also given a month off for other students to catch up to them. So in this scenario, which I want to take advantage of this as well, this podcasting miracle. But in this scenario, describe your perfect 30-day RV trip in this alternate universe.
Oh my goodness. Sign me up. That sounds amazing. Right. So let's see. 30 days. We're all in the RV. I don't know how far we drive, so this might be a little odd. I do like the RV, but I don't like really long trips. I know the irony, right? We probably stay within like the 10-hour range, but I think we would like every couple days go to a new location. We're hitting the beaches. I like beach towns a lot. So Siesta Key, like, places like that have like the beach town. So yeah, we hit those. I like to discover new places. So maybe each day we kind of pick a direction to go, and each of us and kind of take turns that way. Some beach time, some park time. I don't go to amusement parks a lot, but we probably maybe throw Disney in there. Why not? Right?
Yeah.
I think that will round it out probably on the way back, after being at all the beaches and different locations, have a little fun at Disney. Like, all right, guess it's time to go home now. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. I love all of that. Sign me up for that as well.
It is it's just even just to have the 30 days.
Right.
Just to do it. Yeah, that's what.
Seriously, just give me that.
More about that in the RV. Although the RV is pretty cool, I would just pretty much do anything else. 30 days would be really fun. I love the idea of doing like cool towns in Florida because there's so many things on the map. It's such a big state, and there's so many places I have not been to. It would be really fun to do it that way. Like just kind of work your way around the outside edges of Florida, go on a big loop or something like that.
Exactly. Yeah.
I've heard a lot about like. I've been to Tallahassee once just for work briefly. Like I've heard a lot about it. Like I'd love to go hang out in Tallahassee for 3 days and see what's going on there.
Yeah. No itinerary, like that's literally us just picking. I don't like, it couldn't be, okay, days 1 to 3 here and days 4 to 6. Oh no. Like I got to keep a calendar. I'm still at work,
Exactly.
Like, I just want to be adventurous and try new places. So yeah, that would be great.
Well, Courtney, thank you so much for joining us. If our listeners want to get in touch with you, what are some of the ways that they can find you and do that?
Yeah, my website, CourtneyHJackson.com, has links to all my social media. So that's the best way. And thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you today.
Thank you so much, Courtney.
Yeah.
Well, that brings us to the end of our show. But first, Kayley, what did you learn today?
I learned that if you don't see yourself out in your industry, that you can make your own way, relying on adaptability, taking risks, and resources that are available to you.
I tell you, I learned about the apprenticeship program through the Department of Education. That is really cool that exists and that small businesses can get access to that, and that there's some nonprofits out there that can help with that. So We do a lot about workforce readiness here, and that is actually the first time I had heard of that, and it's really cool that Courtney's company took advantage of that and figured it out as a path for folks to get into the industry.
Yeah, I agree. I think we have to at least mention that you also got your UNO rules cleared up.
That there was a third way. I'm going to try this tonight with the UNO games, just to make sure that there's a resolution that doesn't require the sort of violence that sometimes occurs. That there is another way, and I'm glad that Courtney brought me in, potentially my family, that piece.
Exactly.
Well, so for the entire No Password Required team, I'm Jack Clabby. Thank you so very much for listening, and we will talk again soon.
Thank you for listening to the No Password Required podcast. You can find us on social media at No Password Pod. Please remember to rate, review, and subscribe to the No Password Required podcast. And if you know someone who might like it, please share it with them. The show is produced by Cyber Florida, and a special thank you goes out to our friends at Carlton Fields. If you'd like to learn more, visit our website, cyberflorida.org/pod. All opinions expressed by the No Password Required podcast participants are their own and do not exclusively represent the views and opinions of Cyber Florida.